All right, we are live for episode 1 of the World Map podcast. Yes, this is the second episode because we did episode 0 last week. My name is Josh, and joining me today from New York City is Clark, who just raised his coffee cup to the camera for those of you listening via audio.
I forgot about that.
Joining me as a co-host again this week from the Washington, D.C. area is Alex.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. And joining us for the first time from the great state of Indiana, wherever that is, Nick.
Hello.
Hello there. So welcome back to the podcast, everyone. We're going to start off talking yet again about what we've been playing in the last week in terms of gaming. Who wants to start us off? Nick, you're our esteemed guest. What have you been playing lately?
I mean, I did try out some of those new PS Plus games. Most of them.
Yeah, so I tried those out too. I've played all of them except for Ether 1. I'd already played a couple of them. So which one did you sort of gravitate toward?
I've only played 3 of them, Ether 1 included, and that's Race the Sun, Guacamelee, and Ether 1. And I'm kind of leaning towards Guacamelee. Actually, it's rather entertaining.
Yeah, out of all the games that are there, Guacamelee is by far the best one, at least in my opinion. Not having played Ether 1 yet, and Guacamelee has got that Metroidvania style to it. But how can you go wrong with Mexican themed
luchadors?
Yeah, luchadors. Come on, man. And the combat is fun. I mean, there were some frustrating points in that game, certainly, but it's just so whimsical and going between the dark and light world to solve puzzles. I thought it was a lot of fun.
I love all the references too, the blatant references to Mario, Metroid, Castle Crashers, subtly in the background on some posters. It has a ton of old game references in it.
Yeah, it's definitely an homage to gaming in general. I think the folks who developed that was it Drinkbox Studios? Is that a Drinkbox game, I think? They did a heck of a job just capturing everything that makes retro gaming what it is without a retro 8-bit style that's kind of overused nowadays. It's more of a cel-shaded, kind of hand-drawn, not really hand-drawn, but just animated style to it, kind of cartoony, but I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Now, Ether 1, I know you said you haven't played it yet, but that one right there might be my least favorite of the 3 I've played.
Really?
Not that it's bad. It's not my type of game. It kind of reminds me of one of them old school Windows 98 mystery games where it's like a point and click, except in this case, it's like a first-person view, and you just kind of walk around trying to uncover a story. But I of course, haven't gotten super far into it. It was just kind of dull for me.
So is it kind of like Myst?
Yeah, kind of like Myst, except I think Myst had a little more in it in the amount I played. I didn't get very far into it because it's kind of dull, and then I kind of just turned back on Guacamelee and started playing that.
I was interested in Ether 1 strictly because I find that I'm starting to really like games that do something different and that address a certain issue or something. We talked last week about Never Alone, which is a pseudo-documentary type game, and I know Ether 1 has something to do with mental illness or something like that.
From what I've gathered with it, you're basically going through, you're like some kind of medical type guy, and they've developed the technology to kind of delve into people's minds to help them remember. And so you're in a mental kind of institution type place where people are kind of losing their minds, and so you're kind of helping them to remember. But it's sort of like a puzzle game in a way, but it's a little too slow paced for me, coming off games like Guacamelee, and then I've been playing Bloodborne recently too, so it's a bit too slow paced for me.
Yeah, so what about some of those other PS Plus games this month? The Unfinished Swan I love. It feels to me sort of more like a prototype for a game than a real game, but have you guys played that, and what do you think about it?
I actually spent a good bit of time yesterday playing the Unfinished Swan, and I'll honestly say for a good 5 minutes I was confused because it was just a white screen with a little circle in the middle, and I could not figure anything out other than how to make a sound. Until I finally dropped my controller and a trigger hit and it splatted some paint, and then right there it hit me and I was like, oh, I've actually been walking around this whole time and I didn't even notice. And so I thought that was really cool, just because you have to spread paint around the world in order to see what it looks like and to find your way around and to find things and to solve.
Yeah, I really liked that about it, and it started to get a little bit boring at first for me because I thought, oh, this is all I'm going to do is expose this blank canvas and show me where the walls are and where I can climb and move. But as you get later into the game, there's some platforming elements, some puzzle elements, and you even start to squirt things that aren't paint, which isn't as bad as it sounds. But like squirting water at vines to grow vines to climb on and things like that. So I'm a pretty big fan of the Unfinished Swan.
One thing I found real interesting about the game, it's almost a little sad, is if you actually coat an entire area with the paint or whatever, you see that the world itself is really well designed. It's kind of beautiful in a way, but you cannot see almost all of it unless you take the time to actually canvas the whole area. So that's kind of sad.
On that note, right,
but it's very interesting too.
There are things about what you just said, Josh, that I find true, but other sections where I would try to coat the whole area, it would actually make it harder to see because it would turn it from a blank white space to a solid black space, and I was like, I still can't see the detail. So I've learned to kind of space out my paintballs to where I could kind of get a nice contrast there, so I could actually see everything. But it's an enjoyable game. It kind of reminds me of Flower in a way, kind of just like a little whimsical.
Sure, yeah.
Just you kind of dwell into the world and you have to explore it.
The other two PS Plus games from May sort of felt a little throwaway to me. Race the Sun is kind of like if you took Jetpack Joyride and turned it into Star Fox 64, or maybe the Super Nintendo Star Fox graphics. I wasn't a huge fan of Race the Sun. It kept me playing it for like 15 minutes.
It'd be a good iPhone game.
Sure, yeah. And Murasaki Baby, I love the Vita, but I like when the Vita just recreates something that I would play on console. I hate how the touch controls. First of all, they're not good touch controls, and second of all, I just don't like touch controls. So Murasaki Baby, played the first couple levels and ended up abandoning that too.
Yeah, I haven't tried that one yet.
Yeah, so Alex, you've been a little quiet. I know every time I've logged into Battle.net, though, you've still been playing Heroes of the Storm. How's that going?
I have, yeah. I haven't played any of those PS Plus games at all, but I have been playing a lot of HOTS. I'm less enthusiastic than I was last week. It's still a lot of fun, but once you get to a point, especially maybe it's just the free hero week, the heroes are available, that the people playing them, maybe it's more one-sided. But a lot of the times you're either stomping the other team, and it's a lot of fun because, hey, who doesn't love stomping the other team? Or you're the ones getting stomped because your team is incompetent. So I don't know. That's kind of like the catch with all MOBAs. But with HOTS, at least the games are short, so you get over it.
Yeah, I logged in and played 3 rounds this week with using some. Well, I did a round with ETC, who tends to be my main, and then I tried a couple of this week's free-to-play heroes in the free hero rotation. Ended up going 3-0. So this week I'm really up on HOTS because, like, when you're winning, it feels great.
Oh yeah, like I won like 4 or 5 straight games, and then I played Chen and I lost like 5 straight. So.
Have you tried Rhaegar? I
have. I've been playing him this morning, and he's not bad. He's not bad, but I played with some other people who tried playing him, and they're like, "Oh, how do you heal?"
Yeah, I did really well in the match where I used him this week and tried him out. He's totally. I think they call him a support melee character, but
he is.
He's not that powerful in terms of melee damage, but man, he's a great support character because he has that chain heal and that lightning attack. So I found that I was able to really boost my team's performance just by supporting them.
Yeah, and his ultimate's probably one of the better ones in the game. It can completely change team fights. It's a completely full heal. So you can just cast that on somebody they're targeting who's almost dead, and bam. You basically have a new person. So.
Yeah, you can almost double the damage that you're doing as a team if you wait right until someone's about to die before you give them that full heal. It's like giving them a free respawn without having the wait time. So that's great.
Right.
So I've also played Far Cry 4 and started getting back into that this week. Is anyone a fan of the Far Cry series, and/or have you played Far Cry 4?
Never touched it. It's looked interesting, but I've never actually got to try it yet.
Yeah, so it's not Far Cry 3, which was one of my favorite games of last gen. Also, probably in my top 10 games of all time. Far Cry 3 had a great story, really good mechanics, and it really rewarded you for playing stealth. And Far Cry 3 really let you play the game how you wanted to play it. Far Cry 4 is very different. They tried to go so over the top with like all these explosive options. You can get on the back of an elephant and rampage through an outpost that you're trying to capture. There's a helicopter now that you can fly around, which the helicopter controls are horrible. There's no gun on the helicopter, so you're trying to like use your Uzi from thousands of feet in the sky, which is useless. It's really just good for traversal. And it's not even that great for traversal because it's a gyrocopter, so it can't fly that high. And you get this like alarm, and it starts like floating back down to the ground once you get a little higher than treetops. So accessing some of the mountain ranges in the game is impossible with it. And so for someone who plays those type of games as a stealth person and really likes to infiltrate the outpost without getting detected and do enemy takedowns and chain kills with my knife and things like that, Far Cry 4 isn't great. And the co-op, they added co-op to it, and I only tried it once. The person who joined my co-op game tried to kill me. They can do damage to you. You can kill your. So I got in a gyrocopter and started flying away. He jumped in it with me and was still trying to kill me. I flew out over a river and knocked him out of the gyrocopter and watched his body like fall, like he was gonna fall into the river and die. But he hit his wingsuit at the last second and like flew down to safety and just glided to the ground. And then he left my game. And so that was my co-op experience. I don't know, the whole game just feels a little schizophrenic to me because they added a lot of these. You know how when you're playing like a Watch Dogs or a GTA or something, and you get those like dynamic events where you're on your way to an objective, and it's like you got 5 minutes to go kill these guys or defend this thing. Far Cry 4 does that every 2 seconds. Or you'll be trying to stealth into an outpost, and you'll just randomly get attacked by a tiger while you're hiding in a bush, and it'll blow your entire cover. And I feel like the whole time I'm playing Far Cry 4, it's just annoying me and not letting me play the game the way I want to. So that being said, it's still fun. I'm going to keep playing it, but it's got a lot of flaws. So, and then I wanted to mention Marvel Heroes 2015. I'm guessing no one's fired that up yet because it's kind of relatively. They just sort of relaunched Marvel Heroes.
Is it a relaunch? Because I remember playing that like last year.
Yeah,
and, I gave it up because there's a lot of issues with it.
They relaunched it and they put 2015 on the end, realizing that they had so many issues at launch and they didn't get very good reviews. Most of the sites that have re-reviewed them have given them a better score since the relaunch. I think their Metacritic score's up to like 87 or something now.
Really?
Yeah, it's a robust RPG. It rivals Diablo. It's probably deeper at this point than Diablo in terms of crafting and some of the things you can do with your stats and things like that. You can really customize your character to your play style. But the UI is pretty messy, so figuring out where it doesn't teach you how to play it. Figuring out where to do things in the menus is a little tough. It'd be great to have someone who's experienced with the game guide you through it the first time, but I've clicked around and played it. I'm like level 14, 15 now, and I kind of know sort of what I'm doing, but I'm realizing there's a lot to still do in that game. And I'm playing.
Do they still suffer from pretty bad lag issues? Because that's why I stopped playing a long time ago.
No, I've experienced no technical issues whatsoever in the game, and I've been playing it for about a week and a half now. I've rolled with Captain America, I've played a little as Rocket Raccoon, and I just bought Nightcrawler with the in-game currency. So it's a very interesting system. You can play any of the starter heroes up to level 10, and then once you hit level 10, you can't level up any further than that without uncapping your hero. For free, they let you uncap one hero. And then any heroes you want to take past level 10 beyond that, whether they're starter characters or premium characters, you have to pay, either with in-game currency that you earn slowly over time or real money. So it's really good. I recommend you guys trying it. I would love to get us together and maybe party up and play through it as a party. It has a pretty good auto party system once you get past the introductory missions, and pairs you up with people. And so it's a lot of fun because you end up playing alongside characters you wouldn't necessarily see paired in the Marvel Universe. I'm Captain America, and today I was rolling alongside
You uncapped the
Juggernaut.
cap?
What's that?
Is it 14 now?
Yes, I am 14.
So you uncapped the cap.
I uncapped the cap. I did. I did. That's your dad joke for the day. Yeah. So we should all get in there, and there's a hero I think for everybody because I mean they have a lot of the Marvel Universe in there. They even have Squirrel Girl, which
Nice.
is like
Why?
random. Yeah, right. But it's a lot of fun. So I'd like to next move on to the segment that we call "I'm So Excited." And we can talk about anything you guys are excited about this week. I thought I'd start off with the fact that I saw the AntMan trailer when I went and saw Avengers Age of Ultron last weekend, and I kind of didn't care about it at all, and it's probably still something I'll wait until it's out on Blu-ray to watch. But AntMan actually looks surprisingly decent from the trailer. Have you guys had any seen that trailer or anything?
Yeah,
I've seen it. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, I've seen it. I think it looks better than what I thought it would look like, but
Mhm.
at the same time, doesn't Ant-Man have the ability to shrink and grow?
Well, yeah, I think he becomes Giant Man, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
but this trailer mentioned nothing about him being able to grow. Plus, where are the Pym particles? You know, Hank Pym rolls up.
So I think I heard in the trailer that they're calling him Scott.
Yeah, it's like the second or third iteration in the comics. I think it's not Pym.
It's not
Yeah,
actually-
so that annoys me that it's not Hank Pym.
Yeah. Who's the main villain? Is it Yellow Jacket?
I honestly do not know.
Okay. Don't follow the comics too much, right?
Not that one.
How'd you
like
feel
I
about that?
said, not interested at all in Ant-Man, but then I saw that trailer and I was like, oh, this looks like something I would watch someday for free, maybe.
How'd you feel about that scene with the train? And then it just kind of hits him and falls over, and it's a little.
Oh
spooky.
yeah, it's like Thomas the Train Engine.
Yeah, well, I like that because Marvel's doing a good job of that in their cinematic universe, in interjecting humor in with these comics, which is what comic books have always been. And DC, they're always dark and brooding, and their films just don't portray them the same way as comic books do. So, has anyone seen the Avengers movie?
I'm waiting for a friend.
I know Alex is waiting for it to come to Netflix.
I've seen the original.
I would say it's on par with the original. It's pretty darn good.
Don't spoil it. I plan on seeing it this weekend. So.
I will not spoil it at all.
Josh,
So-
Or at least don't spoil it any more than everyone else online already has. So I guess I can say whatever you want.
Yeah,
that's why you don't go on the internet if you don't want anything ruined.
we're actually on the internet right now, so
Everything's been ruined.
I guess we're ruining everything.
Thanks, Josh.
So we talked about Fallout 4 coming to E3 potentially last week when we were talking about our E3 wish list. Yeah, I totally did. I was like, oh, Bethesda's going to have their own conference. I bet they're going to announce Fallout 4. Not completely confirmed, I guess, but a lot of outlets are reporting the rumor that Fallout 4 will be shown at E3. Usually when these rumors are reported on, they pretty much happen. So looking forward
Aren't all
to
the
that.
rumors about Fallout 4 being shown at E3 discussing that it's going to be shown behind closed doors, implying that we're not actually going to be able to see it during the E3 conference? It's going to probably be some kind of like after the fact release.
Yeah. Yeah, and who knows if it's even coming out. It'd be great if they said available holiday 2015, but that's also probably a stretch.
Well,
They can pull
if
it
they do
into
say that, that means it's
available.
not coming out until next year. So
Well,
Yeah.
or they can take a note from Nintendo there and be like, and it's available right now, and just like throw it down right after they announce it.
So, Alex, last week you mentioned something for E3 that you thought might be interesting to see more of, and that was Earthlock Festival of Magic.
Right.
I looked up more on that game, watched the trailer, and checked out the website. That's slated for a holiday release.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was a Kickstarter game.
Yeah, I've had a lot of success with good Kickstarter games, like with Faster Than Light and Shadowrun. And when I saw this, I've been looking into it, and I saw the demo on YouTube, and it actually looks like it has a lot of potential. I mean, obviously, it's still in the alpha stage, so the graphics still need work and then the play and all of that. But it looks like a very good hybrid of like a Harvest Moon type thing slash strategy RPG. Um, and kind of like Final Fantasy-ish combat. So I don't know. I'm kind of excited about that one.
Yeah, I'm a little burned out on turn-based RPGs, but the aesthetic of it kind of reminded me of Beyond Good and Evil, which is a nice classic game that I love. So I'm intrigued. It's something I may want to try. I came across this other game that I'm excited about, and it's actually coming out on Tuesday on PS4, releasing called Tauron. I think it's by actually a Brazilian developer.
Yeah.
Have you guys had a chance to look into this at all?
I think it looks pretty awesome, actually. To me, it seemed almost kind of eco or ico. I'm not actually sure how that's pronounced, so I'll say ico-like.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was really cool because they don't really make enough games like that.
Agreed. And the whole premise of the game is that you're climbing this enormous tower over the course of the game, and you start out as a very young female protagonist,
and
you
older
age
by the time you get to the top.
Yeah, you age as you climb the tower. I think that's such a cool concept. I can't think of a game where that's happened before. That's pretty awesome.
Hmm.
So let's talk about a little bit of news. I think we need to call in the news motorcycle. And Batman Arkham Knight DLC, $40 for that Batgirl prequel content. 40 freaking bucks to play as Batgirl.
Sounds like a great deal. I don't know why people don't buy 2 copies.
You guys gonna play Arkham Knight, and are you gonna get that Batgirl content?
Well, I can say no to both of those questions.
Here.
You know, I did get the Catwoman prequel content for Arkham City.
You would, wouldn't you?
I don't regret it one bit, to be honest with you, but I don't think it was $40.
For $40, it better be enough to be a whole game. I mean, they don't have to redo a new engine for the game or anything like that, so I don't see...
That's 2/3 the cost of what the actual game is going to cost. Yeah. It seems a little ridiculous, but I'm still excited about that game, and I don't know if you've seen the screenshots, but Batgirl looks pretty awesome.
Are you going to get it?
You know, what I'll probably do is get the actual game, and you know DLC always goes on sale eventually. So we also had some news that Xbox One is getting DVR. It's news to me that Xbox One didn't already have DVR.
I honestly thought it already did. I thought that was one of the big things it did.
I thought it did everything TV.
I mean, it looks like a DVR.
It's definitely as big as one or larger. So we talked a little bit about Xbox One last week, and what the future of it is and all that. So if you missed that conversation, go back and listen to episode 0. But I don't know. Yay, Xbox can be a does anyone even use DVRs? Like, we can just stream stuff if we miss it, right?
You got the older generation that was, used it back when it came out and thought it was awesome. I don't know why they have Xbox Ones, but
yeah, they're all probably playing their N64s. Which was a great console, don't get me wrong. So I know, Clark, you'll be very energetic about this one. Nintendo is profitable for the first time in like a couple of years.
Yeah, I know, right? I think it's kind of funny that this type of stuff, the profitability of these companies or lack of profitability, is such big news in the gaming community because, I mean, we're focused on the content that these companies produce most of the time, but for some reason, we also want to talk about the business side of things. And a lot of times the people who talk about it don't really know anything about it or what they're talking about. Like, for example, the whole big news that Nintendo is profitable again. Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I would assume that would happen considering the fact that they have been profitable for almost their entire existence, and most companies that have been around for even 15 years have had a few years of no profitability, particularly with, you know, the difference between the exchange rate between the yen and the dollar and the, you know, current economic situation in Japan, etc. So I think it's kind of funny that there's a lot of focus on this right now. A big reason this happened, of course, is because of Amiibo, and oddly, people want to collect them as if they're Pokemon, even though there are some Pokemon Amiibo. So actually, that would probably be a really smart move for them if they actually just released an Amiibo for each Pokemon. You know.
Yeah, all 151, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I forgot there was that 151st Mew. They'll only make one of that Amiibo though, and you have
Well,
to.
what are there? There must be 400 Pokemon by now or something.
No, there's 643, I think.
Of course you know that.
You got them all, don't you, Clark? Every last one of them.
I am missing about 40.
Oh my god. I'm missing about
Well, you know, if you bring your Game Link cable with you and your Game Boy to school, I think you can get those other ones.
But the thing I find more interesting, it's actually not new news, it's news from maybe a couple weeks ago, is the stock price of Nintendo literally doubled after they announced that they were partnering with DNA.
Right, for the mobile games. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, so that...
Well, and people act like Nintendo is dying, and I guess in some ways there's a little bit of legitimacy to that opinion, but at the end of the day, even in the years that they weren't profitable, they were still sitting on a pile of cash.
Like about $80 billion. Now, there are two kinds of people typically that were saying that Nintendo is dying and everything. The big group are people who, well, actually three. One group are people who are former Nintendo fans who are just frustrated by their business policies and how that affects exactly.
Raising my hand right here.
Yeah, I'm frustrated by it too. I guess a little bit more faithful in terms of.
Yeah, I felt pretty burned by the
themselves.
Wii, and I haven't really looked back since. But you know,
The
I'm also
other
realistic
group-
about it.
Yeah. The other group is a group that is also gamers, but they were just never Nintendo fans to begin with. And then the third group are business analysts and financial analysts who typically only really look at short-term profitability anyway, rather than the long-term, in my opinion, you know, like Michael Patcher, etc. And which makes sense, you know, that's their job, that's what they're supposed to do, and you know, so I mean.
Yeah, and you know,
the problem. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the funny thing is a lot of the people who either don't care for the content or are frustrated by their hardware policies because it restricts their access to some of the content latch onto the business news to bolster their opinions and their criticisms of something that's kind of unrelated.
Yeah, and you know, Nintendo has really vaulted to that profitability on the back of Amiibo and 3DS sales, but still, a Wii U is a struggling console. That doesn't mean it's not a great console, because it is, and there's a lot of good exclusive games on it. But 9.5 million units sold since November 2012. That's so 9.5 million. Xbox Ones are at 12 million. Now, again, we don't really know because Xbox keeps releasing numbers combined with 360, and they're being a little bit secretive about how many ones they've actually sold. Probably until they get closer to PS4's numbers, they won't release a good stat. So about 3 million more than Wii U for the Xbox One, but PS4s are at 22.3 million sold. So almost double the Xbox One and significantly more than the Wii U. And it only took them 3 months to eclipse Wii U sales, releasing a whole year later. So, you know, it's a good time to be a console gamer. Obviously, I've been playing a lot of PC games, but you know, don't let Nintendo's profitability fool you that the Wii U is selling, because it's not. But in that vein, another thing Nintendo sort of talked about a little bit in conjunction with this profitability news that I thought is a great business strategy and very interesting is they realize they've probably sold Wii U's to about everyone they're going to at this point. We know they're developing another console in the background, and now they're talking about let's focus sales increases by selling more to our install base. And they're doing that by more DLC for the games that every Wii U owner has, like Mario Kart.
Yeah, which I think that's a very smart strategy because it doesn't take as much time to develop the DLC as it took to develop the game to begin with. And I don't know if we've all played Mario Kart. It's fun, and you want more tracks after a while because that's the kind of game you'll keep going back to just whenever you have friends over or something because it's really one of those kinds of games that are real fun. Like, I can play, I don't know, Tomb Raider, and it's a great game, but I'm not going to play it a second time. But
right. And we also got a little bit of information about the replacement for the Club Nintendo program that's being phased out. Alex, I know you have a 2DS. Do you guys register your 2DS games, and did you participate in Club Nintendo?
No, we don't. Too much effort.
Oh man, it is a little bit of effort. I would kind of like save up a stack of the codes from the game boxes and then go in and enter a bunch at once.
Oh,
but
that's the worst.
Nintendo rewards, they were never that great anyway.
Well, I don't know. They're going out of business rewards for pretty sweet, where they lined up just like 50, 60, 70-something games ranging from old school Nintendo all the way to Wii U games.
I did get Link's Awakening DX for my 3DS out of that.
I was so upset. I paid for that when I saw it. I was like, I love this game. I bought it. And then I saw it. I could have got it for free. I was like, man, I would have waited about 2 years.
Yeah. So, they're replacing Club Nintendo with this new system. I don't think they've really put a name around it, but it sounds interesting because they're talking about using it to kind of put more of a link between the Nintendo ecosystem, if you will. So on these mobile games we mentioned that they're developing on tablet and smartphone, PC perhaps, and then 3DS and Wii U and the upcoming codenamed Nintendo NX system. It almost sounds to me like they're trying to start building a PS Plus or an Xbox Live kind of service.
I mean, it does sound like something that would be pretty interesting, very revolutionary. I think Sony should get on that too.
As long as they add voice chat.
I'm joking.
Well, yeah, and can you imagine if Nintendo offered a service like Games with Gold or PS Plus? I mean, think about the exclusive games in backlog. We just talked about how much we love something like Link's Awakening from the Game Boy days. They've got such a great library. They could start giving free games out from the NES era and never run out.
I mean, they have so many amazing exclusive IPs, like far more than any of the other companies.
Yeah, like F-Zero.
Oh gosh, that was the best part about the Mario Kart. They brought in 2 F-Zero tracks, and they just filled the tracks with nothing but boosts. And then that added with that 200cc they added, those are the 2 best tracks in the game. You just feel like you're flying. It's awesome.
Personally, if they come out with a subscription service that offers monthly rewards and Wave Runner 64 is on there, I'm buying a Wii U.
Yeah, but it's going to have motion controls, and you're going to have to hold it like,
oh, man.
like you're actually racing.
Exactly.
No. So if you guys could get any classic Nintendo game for free on the Wii U to play a service like that, what would you pick?
See, the problem is I probably already have the game.
That's true.
Yeah, probably have it on a ROM somewhere, but I didn't say that, NSA.
When you say classic, you mean any game before the Wii U, or are you legitimately talking about Super Nintendo?
Nothing on the Wii was classic, but GameCube and prior.
Well,
I take that back. Wii Tennis.
Well, they already have that.
Yeah, that's already fine. I don't know. Did you guys ever play the F-Zero game that came out on the GameCube? F-Zero GX, I think it was.
No, when I said F-Zero before, I was being sarcastic.
I love F-Zero. So I don't right? Maybe a Contra bundle. The original Contra games, all the way up through the Super Nintendo. Except for Contra Force, because that's not a real Contra game.
That's Konami, though.
Well, you guys, I don't know if you guys listened to the audio version of the podcast last week, but the intro music was from Super Mario Brothers 2, which also wasn't a Mario game, so.
That was a great game.
Yeah,
I liked it.
You know,
It was a great game.
I hated the ending, but
You didn't like that frog?
I do not understand why people hate that game so much, though. I thought it was more fun than the other ones.
it is.
I love that game. And I didn't learn until much later in life that it wasn't even a Mario game until it came to the U.S.
I must be the anomaly, because I personally, it's okay, but I don't care too much for it.
Hey,
Where
Princess
else can
Peach
you...
floating over top of everything? What's not to
Yeah.
love?
And then squatting and picking somebody up, right?
Yeah, if you're going to bring up games that were completely different from its previous format, Zelda 2, on the other hand, or the Adventures of Link, that game was pretty sweet, but it didn't follow anything, and that game also gets a lot of hate from fans too, like of the Zelda series. They're like, man, that Zelda 2 was a terrible game. That
It's
2D
10
Zelda,
times better than Wind Waker.
I don't know. I like me some Wind Waker.
Wind Waker's pretty sweet.
You guys, I don't even know. I mean, if you like a sailing simulator.
Whoa! It's about the idea of exploration. Plus, with that new added fast sell, really cut the selling time by half. I do remember playing that when it came out on the GameCube. I did like it back then too, but there were moments when I'd be playing it late in the evening and I would doze off trying to go like 5 islands down. When it was one island to one island, it wasn't that bad. But when you had to travel like 4 islands before you got the ability to like teleport, I would just be sitting there. I'd doze off and then wake up like 5 islands past where I wanted to be, and I would just be like, dang it, no. Other times, I'd make a sandwich or something. So yeah, some of the selling did get annoying, but overall, it was a good game still.
It's not the worst Zelda game, which is, of course, Spirit Tracks.
That one up.
Yeah. Wand of
So,
Gamelon.
let's talk a little bit about non-gaming stuff in a segment we call We Have Hobbies. Because
We do.
gaming is kind of like life, and we have actual other hobbies.
Sometimes go to the office.
Oh, yeah, there's that thing called work, too.
And sleep.
Cool.
So I've been watching Daredevil on Netflix. Anyone had a chance to check that out yet? Nick, I know you pretty much just always watch Netflix.
Why does everybody hate on me for Netflix? I turn it on when I'm doing studies or homework or anything for college. I can't work when it's completely quiet, so I just pop it on.
Was one of those things Daredevil that you popped on?
No, I haven't. I haven't popped that on yet. I have seen it, but I haven't started watching it because that would require me to focus, and I can't focus on my work when I'm focusing on the television.
I understand. So I've watched the first 3 episodes of Daredevil. I'm very much enjoying it. It's very good. And I think one of the things that surprised me the most about it is how gruesome it is. I did not expect that because stuff like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and some of Marvel's other TV things they've done are a little more, shall we say, Disney. But Daredevil is gruesome. I mean, there is breaking of bones. There are people getting things stabbed completely through their head, and it is bloody and gruesome and real and gritty and everything that, if you know Daredevil as a character, that you would expect. So
Yeah, well now we're excited to watch it.
yeah, it's very good. It's very good. That, of course, that leads me to something that I did want to talk about, which is the problem with comic books, because Marvel's resetting their whole universe, sort of like DC did with the New 52 a few years back, and so that's currently happening in Marvel right now with, I think, what they're calling Secret War, which I think was already a Marvel thing from back in the day. I'm pretty sure I have some old Secret Wars comics, so I guess they've rebooted an old crossover to reset their universe, which just speaks to the whole problem that I have with comics right now, which is that there's too much crossover and too much confusion, and I kind of wish there was a little more separation between characters and continuity, and that the story arcs followed things more similar to something like the Court of Owls that Snyder's been doing with the Batman comics the last few years and stuff like that. You guys been reading any comics lately? How do you feel about the crossover stuff and all the weirdness in comic books? Silence. No one.
Well, I mean, as far as regular superhero comics go, I haven't really read stuff like that since like elementary, high school, that kind of stuff. I used to really be into X-Men and Fantastic Four, but I just kind of stopped. And recently, last few years, I've been picking up independent comics that don't have those issues of crossovers and stuff. There's independent stories like
Yes.
Irredeemable, Incorruptible, some of those Image comics that are coming out, Man of War and all that. Just been picking those up. They're different and a bit more unique and less beholden to the past, I guess is the way to say it.
Yeah, and what you're touching on there is exactly how I'm feeling the last several years with comics. The Wake was one of those stories last year that I picked up, which was a good standalone, contained comic book story about these mutant, weird sea creature demon things and it was a story that spanned time from prehistoric days to the future, and there were sky pirates and all kinds of cool stuff in the Wake. And I agree with you that some of those standalone stories from some of the other comic vendors are what I'm gravitating toward. And really reading a single issue of a comic book, it goes by so quickly, and I forget month to month what's even going on if I try to pick up something in a comic shop, which good luck finding a local comic shop these days in a lot of areas. So I'm leaning more toward, like, I'll let a whole year pass and get a volume trade paperback of Batman, for example, and just read the whole story arc from the last year, and I find that a lot more enjoyable.
That's kind of what I've been doing, just going for volumes that have like 7 or 8 actual like mini, whatever those issues, and just combine it in a single volume. Otherwise, if it's just like a single issue, I'm not gonna keep up with that. It's like 10 pages. It takes 2 minutes to read. It's not worth my time.
Exactly, and I don't know if what Marvel's doing with their universe right now is going to solve the problem they have. I would much rather see them hire some really good writers, do some deep stories, and put them out in volumes or graphic novel format. I think would be much more suitable for how people consume that kind of stuff nowadays. So we didn't talk last week about Jurassic World, and we had it in the show notes, and we didn't have time to get to it, but I had seen the trailer, and I guess this is, the 4th Jurassic Park movie. They're sort of rebooting the franchise a little bit. What do you guys think about Jurassic World and then the return of that franchise?
I like Chris Pratt.
Yes, Star-Lord taming raptors. What's not to love, right?
I thought that was pretty ridiculous. Watching him just like run with the raptors, like that's his army, his crew. Let's roll.
Yeah, he's riding on that motorcycle alongside those raptors, and I wish they had just taken it a step further and had him ride one of the raptors.
And then Rocket Raccoon comes out.
You'd have Groot come in there.
I mean, it wouldn't be that much more ridiculous for Rocket Raccoon to show up. I don't know. I mean,
Crossover.
I haven't cared about Jurassic Park in years, and I don't know if I do anymore.
I think, it looks entertaining to say the least, but I think the premise of the movie looks a little ridiculous. Like, it just seems ridiculous. It's like, oh, people are losing interest in looking at dinosaurs. Why would you be losing interest in looking at real-life dinosaurs? So let's create a genetically altered dinosaur that still looks like normal dinosaurs. I mean, and then I don't. If they made it look different, maybe it'd be something to see. But it still kind of looks like just kind of like they melded a few dinosaurs together. Why would that draw any attention?
The real question is, were Jurassic Park 1, 2, and 3 any less ridiculous or any more good as movies?
Well, 2 and 3 were awful, but
yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I mean, Jurassic Park was certainly a classic movie, very good, and it was something new. The sequels were just kind of tacked on.
T-Rex running around, what was it, like Los Angeles or New York or wherever the heck it was?
Yeah, I remember he eats the dog and like has the chain in the doghouse hanging out of his mouth or something.
I like apart from the original Jurassic Parks is the guy in the porta potty in the middle of the woods.
Oh yeah.
No, I don't know. I liked it, but even the original one, it has some serious problems, I think. Just little things I noticed, like when the kid is climbing the fence that's electric, and then he gets shot off. That is not what would happen, you know? Just all kinds of other little things.
There are resurrected dinosaurs in that movie, and that's the problem you have with it?
My question is, why did the government okay this new park if they've already seen it fail like 3 times in the
I
past?
know.
I'll tell you why. Because life always finds a way.
Thanks, Obama.
Oh man,
I'm probably gonna watch it though. I mean, quite frankly, the word Jurassic is in the name. I'm gonna
well,
watch
you know, our understanding and acceptance of what dinosaurs looked like has evolved dramatically since the 90s, though, hasn't it? I mean,
it. Yeah.
I'm a little shocked that none of the dinosaurs in this film have feathers.
Well, remember they genetically altered them.
Oh, that's how they explain it.
Only that one.
Oh.
All right.
Well,
You got to think, Josh. They brought him back, so they probably put a little bit tweaking in there, so they've
They're
evolved
science
to nowadays
dinosaurs.
standards. A little bit of science. So you're not going to be running around with feathers all day.
that'd be too much to clean up. You know,
Yeah.
feathers make a mess.
They got to think of the crew at the park, staff. They're not going to want to clean up feathers everywhere. It's just not going to be enjoyable.
All right, so I think it's about time we move to the segment of the show where we give a little bit of advice of the day to the audience before we head out. I had mentioned I've been playing Far Cry 4, and last week, Clark, you provided a gamer pro tip on Smash Bros. And how to accomplish one of the challenges. I wanted to let people know some of the best ways that I've found to kill Asian rhinos in Far Cry 4. They're one of the toughest creatures to kill in Far Cry 4. They will murder you if you piss them off and are unprepared to deal with them. So you can't kill enemies or animals in Far Cry 4 with explosives. Like the RPG, you think, oh, I'll just pull that out and kill the rhino. Sure, you can do it, but then you're only going to get raw meat. You're not going to get a rhino skin that's usable for crafting. I know, that's ridiculous.
Why would the meat be raw?
You would think that the explosion would cook it a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and of course, I would never condone hunting animals on safari in real life, but man, it's fun in Far Cry 4 because, there are honey badgers and monkeys and all kinds of fun things to kill. The rhinos are tough, though, so I found that when you're riding one of the ATVs in the game, if you just ride in a circle around a rhinoceros and kind of treat it like a rodeo a little bit, and just ride around him in a circle shooting him with your gun, he won't really be able to fixate on you and charge you, and eventually he will die. He will drop from whatever gun you're using, and then you get a nice rhino skin. There are also some turrets behind sandbags that are just scattered throughout the landscape in the game. Those take down rhinos pretty easily. But my favorite way by far is to jump on the back of an elephant and trample over a rhino. And I did that, and the physics in the game knocked the rhino like flying through the air, and he went off a cliff, and I had to use my wingsuit to fly down and find the skin. So that's my advice of the day. Clark, you have any advice for anybody?
No, I don't have any new advice this week.
Nick, how about you?
Like I said earlier, I've been playing Bloodborne, so some of my advice for that game. I don't know if you guys haven't played it at all, have you?
I have not, because I have not wanted to punish myself that much yet.
That game is very unforgiving. It does not let you slide with anything.
Is it basically like Dark Souls?
It's very similar to Dark Souls, except there's really not a magic mechanic to it. You have a gun mechanic, but there's very little ammo. The gun is mainly to help you actually with your melee combat. And the weapons in the game are actually pretty cool. There's only 15, I think, total primary weapons, which sounds like just a tiny bit, but they're so intricate, and they all feel so unique that I think it's worth it. Plus, they have a trick mode where they there's a sword that when you're using it, it's just like a normal broadsword, but then you can just clamp it into this giant hammer, and so its trick form is a huge hammer. So each weapon is really 2 separate weapons. But for my advice for that game, just very simple advice, because I know people that play games like that or hack and slashes. What do? You run in. You're basically Master Chief. That's not a hack and slash game, but that's the guy I'm gonna peg it to. You just run in.
It can be if you have the sword.
There you go. But you run in. You own the zone. No, do not do that. You want to play it smart. Stay back. Do not get greedy. Some of those bosses, two or 3 hits is plenty. Then you want to get the heck out of there and wait for an opening, because the game is just unforgiving. You will die in a second. And here the incentive on not dying is not, oh, I died, I got to get back to it. No. The 50 seconds worth of load screen to get back to him is the incentive to never die. I swear, the beginning of that game, half of your time is spent in the load screen because you die so often.
So what you're saying is if you ever wanted to turn waiting into a video game, Bloodborne is for you?
The first chunk of Bloodborne. Once you get a little further in the game and you can handle yourself, you get some good weapons, more life, you don't die near as often, unless you're just bad. I can't speak for everybody.
Excellent. So, Alex, last week you told people to avoid Gazlowe and Heroes of the Storm. Any other sage advice this week?
On HOTS, no. I guess mine's more infomercial-ish. There's one game on Steam that's 25% off today. Off-World Trading Company. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. It's from the makers of Civilization 4. It's basically an economic RTS. So basically, you don't fight each other. You're just buying each other's stock, and so you're trying to buy out the other players. It's very exciting. I highly advise checking out a YouTube video about the multiplayer and whatnot, but you can get it on Steam for about $30. So it looks interesting.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Just listening to that I'm sure it is exciting, but just trying to bankrupt your opponent or whatever, that does not sound like the pinnacle of excitement for a video game.
Monopoly, the video game.
I would
a lot like Wall Street.
Coming soon to a Wii U near you.
It's like Monopoly MMO, just play as a thimble or something.
So I think that means it's about time for us to wrap it up. If anyone's listening to the show via the YouTube stream, the archived video feed from the live Google Hangout on Air, we do this every Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Or you can download us from the podcast on iTunes. The feed, if you don't have the iTunes access or podcast app on your phone or smart device, you can also go to my website. I've been posting up the show notes as blog posts along with the video and audio files to download. That's www.joshuadelung.com. And to help us promote the show and make it better, we definitely want to get feedback from everybody. So leave us iTunes reviews, especially if it's going to be a 5-star review. We would really like that. I saw we actually got a couple 5-star reviews last week, so go keep those rolling in. Tweet at us and post about the show, including the hashtag the world map, and feel free to link to the show post once that goes up. And you can also find us online not only in the iTunes app, but Clark and I are on Twitter. I'm at Joshua DeLung. He's at jclunk01. Nick, Alex, are you guys online anywhere where folks can find you if they want to give you feedback or say hi?
Not really.
You're on Steam, right, Alex? So folks can track you down on Steam, perhaps.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. And Nick, I'm sure folks will find you on PS4 while you're watching Netflix and not actually playing any games.
I'm just gonna, if I could turn off my online status. Well,
I think you actually can.
Can I?
I'm pretty sure.
Because I get so much flack from you and Clark about my Netflix.
If only you could just change it to live for you and make us think you're actually gaming.
Here's what I'll do. I'll buy a second PS4 and just watch Netflix on that one and just have it sit on a random game the whole time.
I did also want to mention I've been using the Periscope app by Twitter, where you can stream live video straight from your iPhone of whatever you're happening to do at the time. Twitter feed, you'll see a link in there that I did today of Taco Bell's new Diablo sauce. I did a review of the Diablo sauce and tried it out. So that might be of interest to some people who love A, hot sauce, B, Taco Bell, or C, people on videos doing stupid things. And I think that's about it. So until next time, we are going to sign off. And I don't know, do we have a farewell saying yet or anything?
I don't have something yet. I would have said until next time, but.
No, we need to catch your slogan.
That's what's in the show notes. You just read the show notes. All right, everyone. Well, until next time, this is the World Map Podcast signing off.